Good evening, everyone. It's Thanksgiving week, and I know that there's a lot of people anticipating conflict over their Thanksgiving holiday in just a few days. And so I've been in my head thinking about the 10 tips that I can provide to you tonight about having less conflict in your home for the holidays events this week and maybe even into Christmas. Hi, Katie. Anybody else that's joining us, make sure you share. Let's get people on the call on the Facebook Live quick. But 10 tips for reducing at least the conflict in your Thanksgiving. I may not be able to claim, as I said, that we'll be conflict free this year, but hopefully we can bring it down a notch, right? So, I don't know about any of you, but I've heard a lot of people say it's really easy to feel like you're 5 years old again when you get together with family or friends or you do whatever your traditional holiday thing is. It's easy to feel like you're a kid again and feel some of that same, like the power differentials and feeling parented and feeling like you're more out of control, like that you aren't an adult showing up in those places. And so I know what that's like. And I also think this election has been so polarizing, right? So many like things that we would not have anticipated happening in an election in the United States have happened, and people have really strong beliefs and opinions about that. And so, people are going to want to probably talk about the election at your Thanksgiving meal. And so here is tip 1, is to focus on how do you want to feel? I've said it before, I'll say it again. How do you want to feel at your Thanksgiving event? Do you want to feel angry and out of control? Do you want to be right? Do you want to feel love and like you're making memories? Do you want to feel beat up on, ganged up on? And so we can't control anybody else's behavior. We've talked about that on here before. We have zero control over anyone else's behavior, but we can control ourselves, okay? And so if you are anticipating this Thanksgiving meal, think about how you want to feel while you're in that setting, and then manage yourself accordingly. So in the moment, how do I want to feel? I want to feel loving. I want to feel patient. I want to feel accepting. What can I do in this moment of the anxiety or the conflict to feel those ways? Tip 2, you don't have to attend every argument you're invited to, right? Again, if we're in control of our own selves, we have the ability to walk away. We have the ability to say, let's just agree to disagree. You have the ability to not partake in that one-on-one argument that might be about to happen. And this wasn't a tip, but I think there's something to be said for trying to prevent an argument rather than getting in one and trying to back out or even trying to walk away at that point. So as you feel that situation escalating and you're uncomfortable, see if there's a way to get out of it before it gets to the point that there's sort of no return that doesn't mean hurt feelings. Tip number 3, it's related. Pick your battles, right? Thanksgiving holiday may not be the time to tell your mother how she behaved badly when you were 10. Maybe that's a conversation for another day and time. Or how somebody said something to your child that offended you. Maybe that's a conversation for another time, right? Because we get to make memories over holidays with our family members, and those memories can be great and they can be really hurtful and lousy. And so I think that's up to you. So my tip 3 was pick your battles and maybe choose to discuss some things that have to be discussed at a later date or in a different way. Maybe it's one-on-one instead of in public in front of your whole family. Tip number 4, focus on relationships. Focus on your relationships. What matters more, being right in this situation in front of everybody, like publicly, or does your relationship matter more? And if your relationship matters more, maybe we don't burn the bridge right now and we decide to discuss it later and we focus on the relationship right then, right? What are the memories we want to make into the future? I had a real scare with my grandmother last week, and she had a mini stroke, and it put a lot of things in perspective to me about what really matters and what doesn't. And maybe something that happened between she and I a lot of years ago isn't even worth ever bringing up, because if she were gone tomorrow, I would be way more thankful for a positive relationship and for the love that we shared and all the things that I learned from her than I would be thankful for having an argument or being right in something over a holiday meal. So focus on the relationship. Number 5, brainstorm conversations you can have with your family ahead, right? So like right now, today, tomorrow, Wednesday, think about things you could bring up or talk about that isn't going to cause a lot of strife and struggle. So maybe you got a new job, or maybe something fun happened at your work, or maybe you're planning some sort of family vacation or a cruise or a staycation, and you're gonna, be in a tent out back with your kids overnight sometime in the next few weekends. Have things that you want to talk about. Maybe it's sports, maybe it's food or wine or cheese or who knows what. There's plenty of things that you can talk about that won't be the things that get people really angry and wound up while they're all together in the holidays. For everybody that's watching, make sure you share the video. Let's see if we get some other folks on with us. 6, set some ground rules, right? Maybe you and some folks that are going to be all together on Thursday, set some ground rules that there are certain things you're just not going to talk about. So if there are folks on different parts of the election spectrum, maybe you just say, we're not going to talk politics here tonight. Or we're not going to talk about Trump's appointments since he's been elected. Or we're not going to talk about that family drama that happened last year or 3 years ago. We're not going to gossip about such and such a family member here today. You can absolutely, as adults showing up there, decide what's off limits, and then help hold each other accountable to say, and listen, like we said, we weren't not going to talk about that here. We want to make positive memories. We're here to have fun and to enjoy each other's company, especially if we don't get to be together all the time. 7, you've heard me say this before, make the ask. Make the ask. So make that ask of your family members that we talk about things that are fun or exciting or that we're looking forward to, that we don't talk about the things that we know we're going to be angry about. Maybe it's a one-on-one conversation, maybe ahead of that time together, you talk with your partner, talk with your parent, talk with whoever it is that you think you might have trouble with or need the support of, and say, can you support me if this topic comes up? Or can we not talk about this thing this year? Or can we agree that we're going to discuss it later? Ask for what you need, right? We're an awful lot less likely to get what we need when we don't ask for it, because a lot of people can't read our minds. And I promise you, when people try to read my mind, they're usually wrong. So I'd rather they not, and I'd rather they ask me, and I'd rather take control and be able to make the ask for myself. Number 9, show up differently. If some member of your family knows exactly how to push that one button for you, and it gets you all wound up and gets your feathers all in an uproar, what would happen if you didn't allow that thing to get your feathers in an uproar? What happens if you managed your mind and you managed your heart and you said, I know how I'm going to feel, how I want to feel, right? We talked about that initially. How do I want to feel? I want to feel like I'm in control. I don't want to get so angry that I feel out of control. I don't want to regret something that I said. And I know that Uncle Jones always says this, and it really just gets to me. And this year, I'm not going to let it get to me. If he says it, I'm going to walk away, I'm going to chuckle, or I'm going to just act like I didn't hear it, or I'm going to say, okay, I appreciate your opinion, and move on, right? Because here's the thing, if that fuel doesn't light your fire anymore, then that person doesn't have any ammunition left. If we behave differently, if we show up differently than we've shown up in the past, that thing that they do to incite you doesn't work to incite you, that person's power's gone. Person's power's gone. It was always gone. You owned that power. You let it get to you. And so whatever you can do to say, not today, or not for me, or that doesn't fit, if that person can't get to you, they're not going to keep trying to use that same ammunition. So that's an important point. Number 9 would be have activities to maybe limit some of that talk. So maybe there's activities for the kids, or there's games for the adults, or this conversation, as I said, if you brainstorm topics ahead, or, maybe there are questions that we have to pull out of a hat and we turn that into a game. Or one of my Pampered Chef friends actually just posted yesterday that everybody was supposed to take turns doing something with the first letter of the alphabet related to like Thanksgiving and food. So somebody had to do an A, and the next person did a B and a C and a D. I mean, heck, you could do that, right? And so the more activities there are, whether people are decorating a tree or coloring pages or doing a crossword puzzle or reading a newspaper, who knows what, that limits that sort of free talk that happens where it starts off as banter and funny and then can turn really ugly really quickly. So if you have activities that might limit the ability of that sort of free talk that happens, and it focuses everybody in on this activity, this shared activity that we're doing, and then we can talk about coloring. We can talk about the weather, who knows what. That may actually help. And then my tip 10 is, you always have the choice not to go. If you're particularly concerned about how raw you are from prior Thanksgivings or from the election or whatever that is, you have the right to choose not to go. You have the right to stay home or to go with friends. You have the right to, make a new tradition, have a new memory. Some people don't feel like they can do that. They feel like the expectation is that they be a certain place and with certain people at a certain time. And that's why I've come up with some of these other tips, because if you feel like you have to go, or maybe you want to go, but you don't want to keep feeling like you're 5 years old, or you don't want to feel like you're getting verbally assaulted with these folks that say that they care about you and that you want to care about. I gave you some of these other tips for in the event that you feel like you have to go, but you definitely have the right to not go, and to own that you just weren't in a space, right? Not everybody is at a place where they want to discuss the political environment or their fears for what that means for them, or maybe something has changed about their identity since the last time the family was all together, or maybe that uncle has always picked on you about the same thing year after year after year after year, and everybody else thinks it's funny, and it's not funny to you. As an adult in the world, you get to say, I'm just not going to participate that way. And if that's going to keep happening, I'm just not going to come, because it's within my best interest to protect myself and to feel healthy on Thanksgiving Day and the days after Thanksgiving, right? Or Christmas and the days after Christmas. I think all those are true. So a real quick rundown. How do you want to feel, right? And what can you do to control your feelings, your brain, and your emotions about how you show up that day? 2, you don't have to attend every argument that you're invited to. You can choose to walk away. You can say, we can discuss this later. You can say, I'd rather not discuss it at all. 3, pick your battles, right? Maybe, again, you ask to discuss something later or before, or you just say, you know what, it's not even worth it. It's not even worth my time, energy, and attention to do this with this person right now. 4, focus on the relationship. If that relationship is important to you, maybe it's about trying to be open to new perspectives and new ideas. Maybe you're the abuser sometimes in these situations, and maybe it's time for you to reflect on how you've picked on a sibling or a grandchild or a niece or a nephew for years, and maybe it's your turn to not do that. Maybe it's your turn to apologize. Maybe it's your turn to show up differently, right? And to try to be more accepting of your family and your friends, and allow them to come as they are. 5, brainstorm conversation topics ahead. What can you talk about that won't get everybody riled up necessarily, or maybe riled up about exciting things? I don't have the same political views as most of my family, but everybody can talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers and be really happy about it. And I know that. So maybe that's something that I intentionally bring up as part of the conversation, so that I help manage like my own behavior, but the conversation that happens there, so it hopefully is happier and more loving. 6, set ground rules for what you are and are not allowed to talk about while you're there, or how people may or may not behave. 7, make the ask. You have to ask for what you need. And you know what? Those people could still choose not to abide by or to honor your request. But guess what? That's great information, because now they've shown you who they are and what they're capable of, and whether they've honored you or not. That's really, really important. 8 would be you show up different. Somebody's trying to push that button for you all the time. You have the right to say, just not even going to take the bait today. Just not even going to take the bait. Just isn't worth it. 9, have activities to limit your small talk. So we're going to color, we're going to decorate a tree, we're going to do some of the cooking, whatever that is. Have those activities ready. And then, of course, number 10, you have the right to go somewhere else, to have a different Thanksgiving, to make a different tradition, to try something new. So I hope those are helpful, give you something to think about, whether it's for you as the feeling like the victim in the situation, or whether you feel like maybe sometimes you're the abuser, or somebody who's not always as open and accepting of your family and friends as you could be. Maybe you're the bossy one and it's time to put bossy away. Maybe you're the judgmental one and it's time to be more accepting. There's, like I said at the beginning, it's easy to come back all together and feel like you're 5 again. And all those same sort of dysfunctional dynamics happen. And listen, to all of you that go to Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays and there's no fighting and everybody loves everybody and you take pictures and you make great memories, that's wonderful. And I'm so very happy for you. But for many, many, many people in this country, that isn't the case. That isn't the case. And so if you have spectacular holidays with your families, that's something to be grateful for. Right? And you should post that as your Grounded Vision Grateful Challenge for Thanksgiving Day or prior to Thanksgiving Day. So Jennifer Miracle Best said, I think I love that idea the best, with a smiley face. I think maybe you said that about going somewhere different, but maybe it popped up for me later than you typed it. So I'd love to hear which one you liked best. And absolutely, you're the boss of you all the time, right? And I think it's a right that we have, but also a responsibility that we have as adults to ask for what we need and to set boundaries and to hold those boundaries and to really take care of ourselves. Because I promise, if we don't take care of us, it's not anybody else's job to do that. It's not anybody else's job to make me happy. It's not anybody else's job to make me content. It's my job to make me happy. And it's my job to surround myself with people that love me and are going to support me and encourage me and do the right things around me and for me and with me, and who are going to honor my asks of them today and well into the future. So, all right, don't forget, Grounded Vision Gratitude Challenge is still ongoing. There's only a few people still in the boat, but I'd love for you to share your gratitude and to get a chance to win a month of free coaching. So, that's a pretty cool thing. Until I talk to you again, leave your comments below, say hello, chime in. If you totally disagree with me, I'd love to hear it. If you loved one of these 10 tips, I'd love to hear that. If you try anything here, let me know how it goes. And I'm sure I'll talk to you before Thanksgiving, but please, please don't lose sight of all that we have to be grateful for. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.